Hello, my friend. I'm an Irish storyteller, and it's my great privilege to be the voice that you listen to as you go to sleep. Tonight, you are not a king, a knight, or a famous explorer. Instead, you are something much quieter. You are a scribe living in a small monastery in the English countryside sometime during the 12th century. Your days are not filled with adventure. No great battles will be fought. No dragons will appear. No urgent decisions need to be made. Your world moves slowly here, very slowly. And perhaps that is exactly what makes it the perfect place to spend the night. As you settle in and allow yourself to relax, imagine a cool spring night many hundreds of years ago. The sky above is dark and filled with stars. There are no electric lights, no cars, no distant highways humming through the darkness. Only silence. And somewhere in that silence sits a stone monastery surrounded by fields and rolling hills. The building has stood for generations. Its thick stone walls have endured countless winters. Rain has washed over its roof for decades. Wind has whispered through its narrow windows for longer than anyone living can remember. Inside, nearly everyone is asleep. The monks rest in a long dormitory. Wooden beds stand side by side. The mattresses are simple. The blankets are rough wool. Nothing here could be called luxurious. Yet after a long day of work, even a simple bed feels welcoming. A faint breeze slips through a tiny window. It carries the scent of damp earth from outside. Somewhere beyond the walls, an owl calls softly. Then silence returns. You lie beneath your blanket. The darkness feels complete. Your candle burned out hours ago. Now only moonlight enters through the narrow opening in the stone wall. The pale silver light reaches across the floor. It touches wooden beams overhead. It glides over sleeping figures. Everything feels calm. Everything feels still. For a few moments, there is nothing to do except rest. In the medieval world, darkness changes everything. When the sun disappears, activity slows dramatically. Without modern lighting, most work simply cannot continue. The night becomes a natural invitation to pause, to sleep, to wait for morning. And so the monastery rests. The kitchen fires have faded into glowing embers. The chapel stands empty. The library is silent. Even the livestock in nearby barns have settled for the night. Only the occasional rustle of wind reminds you that the world continues beyond these walls. Time passes quietly, perhaps an hour, perhaps two. No clock hangs on the wall. No glowing screen tells you the exact minute. The people here experience time differently. They measure it through bells, prayers, sunrise, and sunset. Life follows natural rhythms, and soon one of those rhythms approaches. Far away in the darkness, a bell begins to ring. Slowly, deliberately, one deep note, then another. The sound rolls across the countryside. It reaches the monastery fields. It passes through stone walls. It enters the dormitory. This bell announces the first service of the day, long before sunrise. long before most people in the modern world would even consider waking. The sound is not harsh. It feels almost gentle, a reminder rather than a command. Around you, sleeping monks begin to stir. Blankets shift softly. Wood creaks. Someone coughs quietly. The monastery is waking. Outside, the horizon remains dark. Yet the day has already begun. You open your eyes. The air feels cold, very cold. Stone buildings hold onto the chill of the night. Your breath appears faintly in front of you. For a moment, remaining beneath the blanket seems like the most appealing choice imaginable. But routine is powerful here. Every day follows a familiar pattern. The monks rise. They pray. They work. They eat. They pray again. And eventually they sleep. The rhythm rarely changes. In a strange way, that predictability becomes comforting. There is no need to worry about surprises. No need to wonder what tomorrow might bring. Tomorrow will look very much like today. And today looks very much like yesterday. You sit up slowly. The room remains dim. Moonlight still shines through the narrow window. The first hint of dawn has not yet appeared. Around you, figures move quietly. Nobody speaks. Conversation before morning prayers is uncommon. The silence feels respectful, peaceful, almost sacred. You pull your wool robe closer around your shoulders. The fabric is coarse but warm. Your feet touch the cold floor. The stone beneath feels icy. For a brief moment, you understand why medieval people often preferred staying close to fireplaces whenever possible. The bell rings again. Slow, steady, patient. Outside, the vast countryside waits beneath the stars. Fields sleep beneath a thin layer of mist. Trees stand motionless in the darkness. And somewhere beyond the monastery walls, the first birds prepare to greet the coming dawn. But dawn is still some time away. For now, the world remains suspended between night and morning. A quiet place, a sleepy place, a place where the only task ahead is to walk slowly through ancient stone corridors and begin another peaceful day in the life of a medieval monastery scribe. And that journey will begin very soon. The bell continues its slow rhythm. Each note hangs in the cold air for a moment before fading into silence. You stand quietly beside your bed. Around you, the other monks are doing the same. No one rushes. There is no sense of urgency here. The monastery moves according to a pace that would seem almost impossibly slow to a modern visitor. And yet, somehow, everything gets done. The room remains dim. A few candles have been lit near the doorway. Their small flames flicker gently, casting long shadows across the stone walls. The light is soft, comforting, the kind of light that belongs to another age. You pull your robe a little tighter around yourself. The early morning cold settles into every corner of the building. Stone is excellent at many things, but keeping warmth inside is not one of them. The monks have learned to live with the chill. After years of experience, it becomes simply another part of daily life. You join the slow-moving line heading toward the door. Wood creaks beneath careful footsteps. No one speaks. Only the sounds of fabric brushing against fabric fill the air. Outside the dormitory, a narrow corridor stretches ahead. The floor is worn smooth by centuries of feet. Thousands upon thousands of footsteps have crossed these stones. Monks from generations long gone walked exactly where you now walk. Some copied books, some tended gardens, some taught students, some spent their entire lives within these walls. Most left behind no records except perhaps a name written somewhere in an old manuscript. And yet their presence remains. Every polished stone tells part of their story. The corridor leads toward the cloister. As you step through an archway, colder air greets you. The cloister is partially open to the sky. A square garden sits in the center. Stone walkways surround it on all sides. Moonlight still shines overhead. The stars remain visible. For now, a thin layer of mist drifts across the courtyard. Everything appears slightly softened, as though the world itself is still half asleep. You begin walking beneath the arches. Your footsteps echo quietly. The sound blends with those of the other monks. Together, the gentle rhythm creates something almost musical. Not music exactly, but something equally soothing. A steady pattern, predictable, calm. The bell rings again. Its deep voice rolls across the countryside. Somewhere beyond the monastery walls, farmers may hear it. Travelers sleeping along distant roads may hear it. Villagers tucked away in cottages might briefly stir before returning to sleep. For them, the day has not yet begun. For you, it already has. The monastery follows a schedule based on prayer. The first service occurs long before sunrise. This practice may seem unusual today, but for medieval monks, it is simply normal life. The darkness itself becomes part of worship, a reminder that each day begins not with work or business, but with reflection. As you continue through the cloister, you glance toward the garden. Even in the dim light, you can make out small shapes. Herbs grow there during warmer months. Lavender, sage, rosemary, medicinal plants carefully tended throughout the year. For now, however, the garden rests quietly beneath the night sky. Tiny drops of moisture cling to leaves. A faint scent of damp earth rises into the cool air. The smell feels clean, natural, peaceful, the sort of scent that modern life often forgets. There are no engines here, no asphalt roads, no electric machinery, only soil, stone, wood, water, and the changing seasons. Ahead, warm light spills from a doorway. The chapel, the destination of this early morning journey. As you approach, the glow of candles grows stronger. Golden light dances across ancient stone. The contrast between the dark corridor and the illuminated entrance feels inviting, almost magical. You step inside. Immediately, the air changes. It feels warmer, not because the chapel is heated, but because hundreds of candles burn throughout the space. Rows of small flames flicker gently. Their light reflects from polished surfaces. Shadows move softly along pillars and walls. The ceiling rises high overhead. Far above, wooden beams disappear into darkness. The architecture inspires quietness. Even if no one asked you to whisper, you probably would. Large spaces often have that effect, especially when they have existed for hundreds of years. The monks begin taking their places. Wooden benches line the interior. Everyone knows exactly where to sit. The routine has been repeated so many times that it requires almost no thought. You settle into your familiar place. The wood beneath you feels smooth from years of use. Across the chapel, candlelight flickers gently. Some flames lean slightly as cool air moves through the room. Others remain perfectly still. For a few moments, nobody moves. Nobody speaks. The silence becomes almost tangible, a living thing, a presence all its own. Outside, the world remains dark. Inside, everything feels suspended between yesterday and today, between sleep and wakefulness, between night and dawn. The first prayer begins softly. Voices rise together, not loudly, not dramatically, just a calm flow of sound filling the ancient space. The words are familiar. They have been spoken countless times before. Generations of monks repeated these same prayers, some perhaps standing in this very spot, others in monasteries hundreds of miles away, all connected through shared routines stretching across centuries. You listen as the voices blend together. The sound is surprisingly soothing, steady, gentle, almost hypnotic. There is no performance, no attempt to impress, only quiet devotion. And as the prayers continue, something else begins to happen beyond the chapel walls. Far away on the eastern horizon, invisible to everyone inside, the first faint traces of dawn begin to appear. Night slowly loosens its grip on the countryside. The stars start to fade. The darkness softens. Morning approaches, very slowly, and inside the monastery, another peaceful day in the life of a medieval scribe is just beginning. The prayers come to a peaceful end. Slowly, the monks rise and leave the chapel. You step into the cloister where the cold morning air feels fresh against your face. Above, the stars are fading. The first light of dawn begins to appear along the horizon. Frost sparkles across the garden, catching the growing sunlight. You walk beneath the stone arches at an unhurried pace. The monastery is connected by these quiet pathways, linking the chapel, dormitory, dining hall, and scriptorium. Everything feels calm. A small bird lands on a wall, pauses briefly, and flies away. In the distance, more birds begin their morning songs. As you walk, you think about the work ahead. Today, like every day, you will spend hours copying manuscripts by hand. Every letter must be written carefully. Books are precious, and parchment is expensive. The worn stones beneath your feet have been crossed by generations of monks. Many of their names are forgotten, but their work remains. The sky grows brighter. Golden light touches the monastery walls. Soon breakfast will be served, followed by another quiet day in the life of a medieval scribe. The morning continues as the first rays of sunlight spread across the monastery. Frost glitters in the garden while birds sing from nearby trees. You return to the chapel for another period of prayer. Inside, candlelight mixes with the warm glow of dawn. Sunbeams shine through narrow windows, illuminating floating dust in the air. The monks sit quietly as familiar prayers begin. Their voices rise together in a calm and steady rhythm. The sound echoes softly against the stone walls. Outside, nearby villages are waking. Farmers prepare for work, and ovens begin baking bread. Yet inside the monastery, time seems to move more slowly. The prayers continue without hurry. Here, patience matters more than speed. Every part of monastic life follows a steady rhythm of prayer, work, study, and rest. As the service ends, sunlight fills the chapel completely. The darkness of night has disappeared. A new day has fully arrived. Soon breakfast will be served, and afterward the work of the scriptorium will begin once again. The monks leave the chapel and walk quietly toward the dining hall. The scent of freshly baked bread drifts through the corridors. Inside the refectory, sunlight shines through tall windows while a fireplace fills the room with warmth. Long wooden tables stretch across the hall, simple but welcoming. You take your place among the others. Breakfast is modest: dark bread, warm porridge, a little cheese, and herbal water. Nothing fancy, yet satisfying. As everyone eats, a monk reads aloud from a book at the front of the hall. His calm voice blends with the crackling fire. Outside, the monastery garden shines beneath the morning sun. Birds move among the stone walls, and the day feels peaceful. Meals here are never rushed. The monks eat slowly, appreciating the simple food before them. A loaf of bread represents many hours of work, from planting grain to baking in the oven. Eventually, breakfast comes to an end. Bowls are cleared, and the reading finishes. The day's work is waiting. For you, that means returning to the scriptorium, where parchment, ink, and quills are ready for another quiet day of copying manuscripts. You leave the dining hall and walk through the quiet corridors toward the scriptorium. The monastery feels calm, filled with soft morning light and gentle footsteps echoing on stone. The scriptorium is simple but important. It is where books are copied and knowledge is preserved. As you enter, the familiar scent of parchment and ink fills the air. Sunlight pours through tall windows, falling across rows of wooden desks. Each desk holds ink, quills, and parchment. Everything is arranged with careful order. You sit at your place. The manuscript is waiting. Around you, other monks prepare their work in silence. A scribe's life is built on patience. Every letter must be written carefully. One mistake can waste precious parchment. You dip your quill into ink. The first scratch of writing begins again. The room fills with soft, steady sounds of work. No rush, no noise, only quiet concentration. Outside, the world continues moving, but inside the scriptorium, time feels slower. Here, every word written is part of preserving history for the future. The quill moves slowly across the parchment. Each stroke creates letters, forming words that must be copied with care. Ink is not simple to make in this time. It is often prepared from oak galls, mixed with water and iron. The process takes time, just like everything else in monastery life. Goose feathers are shaped into quills. Each one is carefully cut so ink flows properly onto the page. Even small tools require patience and skill. Around you, the scriptorium remains quiet. Only the sound of scratching quills fills the air. It is not silence, but a peaceful kind of sound. You continue writing. Page by page, the manuscript slowly grows. Books in this era are rare and valuable. Every page represents hours of careful labor. Outside the window, sunlight moves slowly across the sky. The world beyond continues, but here everything is steady and calm. The rhythm of writing becomes almost hypnotic. Scratch, pause, scratch again. Time passes gently, without pressure or rush. Hours pass quietly in the scriptorium. The sound of quills scratching parchment continues steadily across the room. You write line after line, carefully copying words from an older manuscript. The work is repetitive, but strangely calming. Sunlight slowly moves across the floor, showing the passage of time. Dust floats gently in the air, glowing in the light. Around you, other monks work in silence. Some pause briefly to rest their hands, then continue writing. There is no clock, no urgency, only steady focus and patience. Mistakes are avoided carefully because parchment is too valuable to waste. The rhythm of writing becomes familiar. Letter after letter, word after word, page after page. Outside, the world changes with the day. Inside, nothing feels rushed. Everything moves at a peaceful, natural pace. The afternoon continues quietly as the monastery remains wrapped in silence and soft sunlight. The bell rings softly, signaling a pause in work. You set down your quill and step away from the scriptorium. The silence feels deeper after hours of writing. You walk toward the monastery garden. The air is warm, filled with the scent of herbs and flowers. Lavender, rosemary, and mint grow in quiet rows. Bees move slowly from plant to plant. Birds sing gently in the trees. Everything in the garden feels calm and unhurried. You sit on a stone bench and watch the sunlight move across the leaves. The world outside the monastery feels distant, almost forgotten. Here, time seems to slow down. There is no urgency, only quiet observation. Even the wind feels gentle as it passes through the herbs. For a while, you simply rest. No writing, no tasks, just the peaceful rhythm of nature around you. The bell calls you again, and you leave the garden behind. This time, you walk toward the monastery library. Inside, the air is cool and still. Rows of ancient books line the walls, each one carefully preserved. The scent of old parchment fills the room. Sunlight enters through narrow windows, falling softly across wooden tables. Dust particles drift in the light, moving slowly like floating memories. Every book here represents years of work. Some were copied long ago, yet still survive through careful preservation. You walk between the shelves, gently touching the worn leather bindings. Each manuscript holds knowledge from distant times. The library feels like a place outside of time. Everything is quiet, as if even sound is not allowed to rush. Here, knowledge is protected. Words are passed from generation to generation, surviving through patience and care. The afternoon light begins to soften as you leave the library. The monastery feels even quieter now, as the day slowly moves toward evening. You return to the scriptorium. Sunlight stretches long across the floor, changing color as time passes. Once again, you sit at your desk. The manuscript is waiting. The quill is ready. The familiar rhythm begins again. Scratch, pause, scratch, pause. Hours pass in steady silence. Outside the window, the sky slowly changes. Clouds drift lazily, and shadows grow longer across the monastery grounds. Inside, everything remains calm. The sound of writing fills the room like a soft background rhythm. There is no hurry, no pressure, only steady work and quiet focus. The monastery continues its peaceful routine, moving gently toward evening as the day slowly fades. The bell rings again, signaling the end of the working day. The sunlight inside the scriptorium has turned golden and soft. You carefully close the manuscript and put away your quill. Ink is sealed, parchment is covered, and everything is placed neatly in order. The monastery begins to shift into evening rhythm. Monks move slowly through corridors, finishing small daily tasks. You walk through the cloister as the sky outside turns orange and gold. Long shadows stretch across the stone paths. The garden looks different now, glowing under the evening light. Birds grow quieter, and the wind feels cooler. Simple chores continue, carrying supplies, organizing storage, and preparing for night. Everything is calm and unhurried. There is no rush. The entire monastery seems to slow down as day approaches its end. Evening arrives, and the monks gather in the dining hall for supper. Candlelight replaces the sunlight, filling the room with a warm glow. A fire burns softly in the hearth. The smell of simple food fills the air: stew, bread, and herbs. You sit at the long wooden table. The meal is modest but comforting after a long day of work. A monk reads quietly at the front of the hall. His voice blends with the crackling fire and soft movement of the room. Outside, Night slowly settles over the countryside. Stars begin to appear in the sky beyond the monastery walls. Inside, everything feels warm and peaceful. The candlelight flickers gently across stone and wood. The day's work is finished, and the evening feels calm and complete. After supper, the monks walk together toward the chapel for night prayer. The courtyard is dark, lit only by lanterns and moonlight. The sky is filled with stars. The air is cool and still. Everything feels quiet and reflective. Inside the chapel, hundreds of candles glow softly. Shadows move gently across ancient stone walls. The monks sit in silence as night prayers begin. Their voices are low and calm, blending into a peaceful rhythm. The sound echoes softly through the chapel, creating a soothing atmosphere. Outside, the world sleeps under the night sky. Inside, the monastery remains filled with quiet devotion. As the prayers end, silence returns once more. The day is now fully complete. You leave the chapel and walk slowly toward the dormitory. The night air is cool and calm. Stars shine above the monastery walls. Everything feels quiet and still. The garden rests under moonlight, and the cloister glows softly in silver light. You enter the dormitory where lanterns flicker gently. One by one, monks settle into rest. You lie down in your bed. The sounds of the monastery fade away completely. No bells, no footsteps, no writing, only silence. The thoughts of the day slowly drift through your mind. The garden, the library, the scriptorium, the quiet meals, and the steady rhythm of monastic life. Outside, the night continues peacefully. The world moves slowly, as it always has. Your breathing slows. Your eyes grow heavy. And as the monastery sleeps, you drift into rest, carried gently into another quiet night.